Hello, my name is Takumi Sloan. I work for Ashby Energy Assessors, and this is a brief presentation on sound insulation testing. Ashby Energy are a building regulations and compliance consultancy. We deal with all aspects of building regulation compliance, both commercial and domestic. Sound insulation testing regs and scope. All testing is to establish compliance with the approved document Part E 2003 of the building regulations. This document details the targets and also offers guidance on the testing methodology. All testing is carried out in accordance with ISO 140-4 and 140-7. These documents can be referred to for specific methodology of each test. Approved document Part E applies to new build properties and converted properties and includes dwellings such as houses, flats and rooms for residential purposes which share any adjoining wall or floor. In addition, there will be tests needed if the dwellings share any floor or wall with a commercial property. These tests will include airborne wall testing, airborne floor testing, and impact floor testing. The purpose of sound insulation testing is to reduce the noise transmitted from one property to another in an effort to reduce noise exposure, especially at night. The effects of noise exposure are gradual and often go unnoticed, undiagnosed, and untreated. Long-term noise exposure has been associated with cardiovascular health problems, psychological effects ranging from annoyance to anxiety and depression, stress and childhood developmental issues. All of the above can be further attributed to loss of sleep. Planning and preparation for testing. It is best during the planning phase to consult construction details for best practice to reduce noise transmission. Bear in mind specialist fittings and materials may be required to reach target noise reduction. Throughout the building phase, ensure that building details are being adhered to and that appropriate construction methods are being used. It is advisable to employ builders who have prior experience with the building details being used, as they pertain to noise transmission reduction. Nails, screws, and mortar bridging air gaps are typical points of failure, allowing direct paths of noise transmission through the partition or floor. Ashby Energy require full sets of plans, including sections, in order to plan for these tests. We advise that you consult with building control to find out what your testing requirements will be. Building regulations requires one full set of 6 tests for every 10 dwellings, which includes 2 wall, 2 floor, and 2 impact. Building control, however, may require fewer, depending on the circumstances, such as not having enough partitions or floors available to test. Such an example would be 2 flats, one on top of another, which will not require wall tests, unless they share a partition with neighbouring properties. General requirements for sound insulation test. Windows, internal and external doors must be installed, glazed and closed. Trickle vents or other ventilation systems should be installed and closed and switched off. Walls, floors and ceilings must be completed. Skirting boards, electrical sockets and light switches should be fitted. In order to test separating floors for impact sound transmission, there should be no soft floor coverings in the rooms to be tested, i.e. carpets, rugs, soft vinyl ceramics or any kind of cosmetic flooring. Rooms in which tests are to be carried out must be empty and tidy. No trades should be working in the dwellings during the test. Access is required to the properties either side of the party walls and or floors during the test. There should be no noisy operations or work in or nearby the dwellings being tested. That includes drilling, cutting or major groundworks. We will need 240 volts at 50 Hz mains power available within or at least very close to any dwelling being tested. Testing. The speaker generates pink or white noise in excess of 110 decibels. As can be shown in the diagram, the sound will accumulate inside the testing room, go through the partition or floor and be monitored on the other side. The tapper impacts the floor at a known rate and force to generate direct transmission through the floor with the monitoring position underneath. Readings are taken on the opposite side of any test partition, and each test is repeated to give a single result. Targets. These are taken directly from the Building Regulations document Part E. For dwellings, the target for wall and floor airborne testing is a noise reduction level of 45 decibels, and for dwellings formed by material change of use of 43 decibels. The floor impact target is a recorded noise level of below 62 decibels for dwellings and 64 in the case of material change of use dwellings. When testing rooms for residential use, the target for wall airborne testing is a noise reduction level of 43 decibels, but 45 decibels for floor tests, and for rooms for residential use formed by material change of use, 43 decibels for both wall and floor tests. The floor impact target is a recorded noise level of below 62 decibels and 64 in the case of material change of use. Common points of failure. Direct transmission via air paths will be evidenced by the presence of higher frequency noise on the receiving side. You will literally be able to hear higher frequency noise on the receiving side of the partition or floor. Flanking is the situation where airborne or impact sound passes under, over, or around a wall or floor partition. The sound travels along shared building elements of adjacent structures. These can be detected with greater levels of low frequency noise on the receiving side. So as denoted on the diagram, direct sound transmission straight through the partition itself. So that's the sound impacting the partition or floor and being transmitted straight through. 2. Flanking transmission through structural elements around the partition. So shared structural or load-bearing elements will transmit low-frequency noise much more effectively. 3. Overhearing transmission through a long ducting or ventilation. So ventilation paths such as through ducting through the roof, through the building itself, or even through windows reflected from window pane into another will be detected on the other side. And 4. Leakage, so air paths around or through partitions such as pipes or sockets where they haven't been sealed sufficiently. These will also be typical points for high frequency noise transmission through a partition or floor. Please feel free to ask any questions. We will consult on the testing methodology, building details and specs. Every situation can be different, so there may be special circumstances to take into account. So please feel free to get in contact, and thank you very much for watching this presentation.